Hi everyone, welcome to Community Connect for Thursday the 27th of February. I'm Ness and I'm going to be sharing with you a session tonight on how to use Google Forms as an assessment tool. This is brought to you by the Australia E-Series and we're very pleased to be presenting this tonight. So a big thank you to Steve Hargaden and the team at Learning Revolution who let us use our room here. Without it, we wouldn't be able to share our words of wisdom with you. My name's Vanessa Crouch, but everyone calls me Ness. I'm a leader of pedagogy at a small primary school in northern New South Wales. Hi Peter, welcome. I'm a classroom teacher as well, 3 days a week. I love my ICT. I'm a learner. I'm currently doing my Masters in e-learning through UNE. And I'm a bit of a risk taker. I like to try new things and jump in the deep end and see what happens. So now I know that the next window will be hazardous for those of you using mobile devices. So if you want to type in the chat where you are, if you're on a mobile device, we can put the icons up for you. So you just grab it and stick it where you are. So I'm kind of pretty much on the border between New South Wales and Queensland. Do you know where that is? Poowong South in Gippsland. Do you know where that is, Shingo? Can you fix that one up for me? And I think Peter's in South Australia. Good. I'm guessing it's down south somewhere. All right, great. Okay, great to see we've got a few people tonight. Now the recording will be available shortly afterwards, so we'll post that for you online. And I'm going to try and do a Shambles Guru and do a Screencast-O-Matic and put it on my YouTube account as well. Okay, great, Lisa. Welcome from Adelaide. Okay, so I thought I'd start tonight just looking at types of assessment. With the Australian curriculum, there's come a change in language when it comes to assessment. And instead of just being formative and summative assessment, there's now 3 levels of assessment. So the assessment of learning is what we would normally call summative assessment. So it's usually the tasks that give us the evidence that the children have fully understood what we're trying to teach them, and it's showing whether or not they achieve the outcomes. The assessment for learning is the assessment as we go along. So it's all those little check-ins you do along the way to make sure kids get the topic or the content or the idea that you're trying to teach them. Okay, Peter, no worries. Just join in the text chat if you like, and give it another go later on if you like. And then there's this newer idea of assessment as learning. It's where the students are their own assessors. So they're reflecting on their learning, they're looking at what they're doing and being quite critical of what they're trying to do and what they're trying to achieve. And what I've done here is I've taken a clip from a paper that was actually released by one of the Canadian states, one of their education boards, and I've put the link in at the end for us because I found it a really useful paper. Yes, we're looking at Google Forms tonight as a tool for assessment, Peter. So if you look at the top pyramid there, it's the traditional form of assessment. So the kids didn't do much of their own assessing. There wasn't much of the formative assessment going on, but there was a lot of summative assessment, and it usually took up most of the time. Hopefully Peter comes back, I'm not sure. So what the new look of assessment should be is with assessment as learning right at the bottom. And it should be the biggest part of the learning experience for students. So like I said, I do have a link to this whole paper, which is freely available on the web from Canada. It's quite a good paper. I would recommend it because it gives some really good ideas. Now, to Google Forms. Now, I like using Google Forms. So I guess in some ways I'm a I'm an advocate for Google because I like the user-friendly nature of their tools. So I think some of the advantages of Google Forms is they're free. I didn't write it here, but your students don't have to be a user of Google to be able to fill in the form. You can design your own questions, and it will automatically generate for you reports and spreadsheets and graphs and all those sorts of things. Some of the disadvantages is it is linked to Google, so you have to have a Google account, and some people may not choose to do that. Well, that's good, Peter. I'm going to actually run through how to set up a Google form. So I'm going to share some of my examples, and then I'm going to then show you how to set up a Google form. Hi, Sue. Welcome. Good to see you here. Another disadvantage is that I know probably in Queensland schools they may not be able to use it on their networks, but I'm assuming in most other places they aren't quite as backward as Queensland in allowing their teachers to have access to such wonderful free devices. Okay, so what do I like about Google Forms? Like I said, I'm an advocate, but here it is. It's easy to use. There's lots of question variety, so you can choose lots of different types of questions. You can embed it into web pages and into Moodle and into other platforms as long as you can you can use HTML code. The responses are sent straight to a spreadsheet, so you don't have to worry about it. And responses are also available with a report and a graph form, which I think is useful when it comes to trying to gauge responses from people. I've actually used this not only with my students but with my staff as a way of gauging their responses to certain professional development and so on. So a lot of tonight is going to be spent on looking at the what do we call it? AppShare. So the AppShare, I'm assuming, works on our mobile devices. So if you, Shingo, could I get you to keep an eye on the chat, and if there are any questions, just let me know, because I'd rather have the whole space of the screen for people to see, so I don't cover it over with any chat or anything like that. I will try to attempt, first of all, to have a go at trying something new I learnt on the weekend, but I wasn't so good at it the first time. So if there's any questions, just let me know. Okay, so I'm going to share my Chrome with you, and I find that, yeah, it's a great way of gathering responses and things, isn't it, Sue? I love it. So I tend to use it in Chrome, mainly because Chrome is a little bit. I guess because it's built for it. It's built for it for using it with Google Apps, I guess what they are. So what you can see here is this is my, it's our stage 2, so it's for 2 classes, part of our website. And one of my tasks I get the students to do to practice their spelling, because keep in mind I teach year 3-4, is to type in their spelling words and submit it as part of their homework. Now you might think, oh, that's a pretty silly idea, because what about spell check? You'll see in a moment that it's not such a silly idea, because they don't always check. So it's a pretty simple little form. It's only got 3 questions: their name, the week, so I can track, because this isn't a compulsory task, they can do it whenever they want. And they just type in their words and they click on submit when they're done. And what that produces for me is this lovely little spreadsheet, which gives me a timestamp. Hopefully that loads fairly quickly for you. And I don't have a child named Fred in my class. This was a practice one to show my students how it worked. And the date or the week, and the words that we typed. Yep, someone's got a question. Come to the microphone.
So Ness, would you be able to send us the actual link so that way we can actually do from our end, and we can see what's happening on your screen as well?
Yeah, sure. I think this is a live link. So I think it's a link that everyone can see, but it might not be because I have done it within my work Google account, so I may not have opened it up to the world, but I can change that anyway. So I will go back and do that right now, just to make sure.
Nothing is coming up with you need a permission.
Yeah, so I'll just change the sharing options and then you can refresh. I'll make it public for anyone with the link. And I'll change that later on. Okay, so just refresh and you should have the options there now. Okay, how's that going? Yep, I'm getting extra viewers. So if you have a look here at little Isla's, it's in row 6, you can see that even though the red lines probably came up under the words, she didn't change some of the words that are spelled incorrectly. So for me that says one of two things. One, she doesn't know what the red lines mean, or two, she thinks she's right and she's just ignored the little red lines, which some of them learn to do, especially when they're typing words that might be like words like meter, hi Ian, welcome, or grey, or things like that, that if we're spelling in an American way, they will come up as perfectly right.
I'm sorry, Ness, we will take that test, take the form.
Yeah, if you want, you should be able to, because that's a public link. I can send that to you now. If you like to, you can have a go. I'm pretty certain that our website's public so parents can see it, so I just put in the link to that. This is our class site. It's always under construction. And what will start happening if you just have a go and put things in, I can so if you just want to put whatever in, then we can so just go over to this one and check responses. Okay, so I will just refresh and see if we've got some new responses there.
I'm sorry, can we get the link where we can put the answers in?
Yep, I think I just put that in. So let me go back and check. Yeah, I did put that in the chat. I'll put it in again. Oops, wrong one. Okay, so you should be able to access that because I'm pretty sure that that site is public because I want parents to be able to access it. I'll just double check the permissions. Taking a little while. Okay, so have you got that link yet? Yeah, anyone can view it, so you should be able to see that. There we go, Jason's put some things in, Sue's put some things in. Yes, it's week 5. Shingo's got his in. Yes, it's week 5, Shingo. So it's pretty good because for me, it was just a way of getting the children to interact a little bit more. Now what I'll show you is the form that I actually constructed behind that to allow the students to do it. So when you start a new form, which I'll show you shortly, you're asked to name it, and if you want you can write a whole long description. And then the first choice you get is what do you want to do. So I click edit usually, because it's not usually what I want. So if you click edit, it will come up with the question title if there's a help desk, oh, wait up. Are you still seeing my screen? Because oh yeah, there it is, sorry. I was just feeling like I wasn't able to see the screen, but it's just come back up. So you can choose your question title. If you want to write help text, which I'll show you on the next one, it's if you aren't sure, write today's date. You can choose the type of question, so you can have just a text, you can have a paragraph of text, multiple choice, check boxes, choose from a list, so on. And their answer goes there. Now if you want, you can make it a required question, which means they can't complete the form without answering it. And when you're done, you just click done. If you want to copy it and make a similar question, you can duplicate. If you want to get rid of it, you can just delete. So I'll click on done there. This one is just mainly text. So what at the top here it shows me is a couple of different things. It tells me that I've had 12 responses. In File, that's where I go to send the form, so I can email it to various people. I can embed it. If I want to embed it, I can click on there and I'll get the embed code. Hi Lisa, welcome back. If I want to share it via any of these formats, you can then enter email or email groups. And now because my school or my diocese, we use Google as our email platform, I can create groups and send it to my whole class at once with just by typing in my class name. And once you click done, it sends it out. The other option is, if you're embedding it like I have in my website, is that you can, it's just automatically there. Now because this is part of it's run as part of a Google Apps for Education site, I can actually require my students to use their login for our system so that I can identify exactly who they are. Or I can just collect their information, because if they're on our internet at school, it automatically collects their username. And if I want, I can have a progress bar if it's a particularly long test. I can choose themes. There's a variety of different ones. I chose the fish one just because it was nice for little kids. You can have it quite plain. So there's about 12, I think, different choices you have. Sometimes I use the default just because I'm in a hurry or I don't want to waste the time on loading. So there are a few different choices there that you can choose. You can get pretty ones or you can get just plain ones. They're all quite user-friendly. Now, to view, if I click on this View Responses box, tab, what that does is takes me to my responses form, and that shows that sort of thing for me again. It's saying that at the moment it's open for responses, and if I want to view what the form looks like on the web, I can click that and it will show me. So it actually has its own URL, but because I've embedded it in my website, you only see a small part of that from there. Now the other option I have is, if I go to responses, I can get a summary of the responses. So if I click on that, it gives me a report. So I'll give it a little bit of time for you to watch that load. But what it does for me is it puts all of the responses together, and it's probably not useful in this format because it's just spelling words. But it tells me how many responses per day I'm getting, and it also tells me who's done it and all of those sorts of things. So this is quite useful when you're looking particularly at children who are rating things. So when I've used it, and you'll see a quick example of that shortly, where I've asked children to rate how they liked something. It is really helpful. Okay, so another form I used was, it was a reflection for a HSIE unit, and it was called Who Will Buy the Unit. So what we asked the children to do was the usual, because it was for 2 classes, we needed to know the class so we could sort the form later. We wanted to find out, we tried a few different new strategies with this unit, so we wanted to know what the kids thought about them. And that's why there's these 2 questions about their favourite learning activity and the learning activities they wanted to see more of. It was a really useful tool because we found out that they actually really quite liked some of the learning strategies. As teachers, we thought were quite not so much fun and not so interesting. So it was really, really good. You can see here we did a rating. We asked the kids to tell us what they thought about the unit, and then that's when we got into the specifics of, we want to know these things about whether or not you understood this, because this is the main ideas of what we wanted. So I'll just go to the summary of responses and show you the graph that we got. Excuse me. The graphs that we got. So I'll give that 30 seconds to load because I'm not sure how fast my connection is tonight. So hopefully you can see that by far their favourite learning activity was designing the shopping centre, which was part of their summative assessment. And it was interesting to see also that quite a few kids liked doing the flowchart, which is quite a tedious task for some of them. And that if you look in the next question, 20 or 56% of the kids wanted to do more flowcharts, which I was surprised about because they found it quite challenging because we were expecting quite a lot of detail. So, you know, the next unit we made sure that we included at least a small flowchart. It wasn't part of their assessment, but it helped with some of the formative assessment as we went along. And they really liked the A to Z vocabulary. That was a big hit with most of them. Now when we got to looking at how interesting they thought the unit was, we were quite surprised at our responses, because 10 being it was fascinating and 1 being it was totally boring. When you've only got 7 kids that are scoring below 5, we were really, really happy with that. It made us feel good. I'll go back and check for you, Shingo, if they're multiple choice ones. No, how interesting was it was a scale score. It was a want is and a need is, if you can see that now. They were, you had to choose from one of these 4 as the answer. So these were not multiple choice ones. I don't think this one, no, this one did not have any multiple choice responses, but you can set them. Okay, so you can see that the graphs can be really useful. So you, if you have a look at a want is, you can see here that these were the 4 choices they had. Obviously the one that got the 75% of kids was the correct response, and that the other 3 responses, though one was quite similar, it wasn't a correct response. We were quite particular about making sure we had something that was similar to the answer we actually wanted, because that would help decide, help sort out those kids that actually really grasped the concept. Okay, and I'll show you. This was a pre-test, this next one. We did a unit, another HSIE unit about our town called Then and Now. And before we started the unit, we did before we had really started the unit, we did a quick survey. So these are multiple choices Shingo, so when the local area was first settled by Europeans, the Aboriginal groups. So if I just click on that to edit it, you'll see that if it works fast enough. There we go. It is a multiple choice question. So you could keep adding more choices if you want to. You can add as many choices as you want. And then there were some write some text and so on. They had read one piece of information before we actually did this, so we made sure that that information was part of it, so they've at least got a few of the answers right. And then there was the answers. So a majority of the kids in that one reading that we read had picked up a lot of the answers. But some of them said, I'm not sure, I have no idea. You know, Captain Cook was a choice for who named the Brunswick River and all of those sorts of things. So it was a really good way for us to gauge what the kids were thinking. So I'll just come back to the room for a second and see what questions we've got. Where you can make one answer correct. I've not tried that. I don't. Can the participants change their answers? Only before they click submit. So they can change their answers before they click submit, or if there's several pages they can go back. But if they click submit, it's submitted. But you can make a choice there, Jason. You can allow them to submit only once, or they can submit several times and tell you, oops, sorry, I made a mistake. Yeah, that's right. That's right, Sue, that's correct. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll go to my Google Drive, which I think I've closed, and show you how to create a Google form. So if you go to Google Drive, and just tell me if it's going a bit too fast. I've not actually tried, Ian. It doesn't bother me too much. I lived in Japan for 2 years where the date was just back to front anyway, so, and sometimes I didn't understand it because it was in Japanese date. So I kind of got used to, the US date form used to annoy me all the time, but since living in Japan and you know, just even having a date that I could recognize was really good, because in Japan their official date is measured by the reign of the emperor. So yeah, it got a bit tricky at times. Yeah, so when you go to your Google Drive, you simply go to Create and click on Form, and that will load for you. I'll just close a couple of these. It will create for you a form. So it will ask you, first of all, to give it a title and also choose your lovely background if you want one. So I'll choose the cherry blossoms. And it starts simply with, it gives you one question to get started. I'll just bring the chat back up so I can see that if I need to. So you type in your question. And you decide on what you want it to do. Now that one probably makes more sense as a scale. So I want a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being no, not really, and 5 being yes, lots. And I'm going to make that a required question. And it's done. It's ready to go. So now that I've done that one, just tell me if I'm going too fast here, I can click on Next Item. And it actually gives you some choices. Now, if you want, you can add a section header to break up different parts if you want to make it quite a long assessment. You can add a page break, which is where you can then add the you can make it a couple of pages so that you can get them to go back and forth. You can add an image. You can make them excuse me. You can put in a video. So I might do that just to show you how it works. So if you want them to watch a small video clip and then respond to that, your students, you just put in your URL for YouTube and it automatically inserts it for you. So you can say, please watch the video and then respond to the following questions. So I like that. Same with an image. If you want children to maybe respond to a picture in particular, whether it be that you want them to write an imaginative paragraph, or whether you want to write a description, or ideas are limitless really. Use what you like. Tick boxes, I'm going to do a tick box next. So what the tick boxes or check boxes are, Jason, do you mean, oh, YouTube blocked at your school. I'll go back and do that one next if you like, Ian, just so we can check. Jason, I just want to check. If you add audio for spelling, do you mean, that you can spell out the words, or is that something else? I'm not quite sure what you mean there.
Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. I was just so that if I actually give the spelling word to the student and then they spell it, so like a cold test or something.
Oh, okay. So they can give an. Yeah, I mean that would. I would suggest. Well, you could probably do that in some program and upload it to YouTube anyway and get a YouTube. I'll just open YouTube while we're talking. Yeah, I haven't played around with that because my kids are not quite that advanced in using this. They're still learning how to use this, and because they're Year 3, 4, they have enough trouble listening to me, let alone a recording. So if you've got older students, it probably would work. Shingo.
Well, in terms of the embedding audio, or this is to answer Jason's question, you can probably upload the audio itself into like the Box or Dropbox and just add the link directly into it, so that when the student clicks on the link, it'll automatically open up the audio that is located outside of the Google.
Yeah, that's probably, it would just open as an audio file, that's true. I'm just trying to grab a YouTube link here so we can have a look. It's just taking a little while, I'll let it load. Now the whole thing's, I think I'm moving too fast. My poor computer. It's had a bit of a weekend. Not sure. I might just stop the app share for a second and come back and then go back again because I think it might be overloading. My poor computer had a bit of a fit at me on the weekend after all of my long hours sitting at it. Oh, I've completely lost the chat as well. Okay, my computer is just frozen, so, and you get to see my assignment by the looks of it. I can't see any of the chat, so Shingo, if there's anything happening, you might want to tell me because my computer has literally just frozen. I'll have to let it.
Sue just posted a comment about AudioBoo. Sue, would you like to just go through what AudioBoo is for those of us who don't know what it does? And we can give you the moderator link, moderator's privilege, so you can show us as the app share if you like.
Shingo, you might just want to take my app share off because I'm almost back. There we go, I'm back. Right. So AudioBoo, I remember Sue talking about this on the weekend, or someone was talking about it. It's basically a tool, just a web tool where you can put your audio into onto a website, and then it will generate the link for you. Is that right, Sue? Yeah, right. So I thought so. Okay, so I've just grabbed a YouTube clip, and I will go back and share it. Oh, I will share it, put it on the Google form that I'm just creating. So I'll go back to App Share. Oh, that's good to know, Sue. Yeah, there's so many things out there, Lisa, and honestly, I'm a fairly experienced user of technology, and I'm constantly amazed at what new things are coming up. So I just grabbed a YouTube clip, and it just happens to be one from the, I might delete that one and put a new one in, from the weekend. It was the first thing that was on my page. So I'll insert that video, put in my, you can actually just search YouTube. I probably should have just put in the URL. So put in your URL, select, it will grab it, put it in, and there's the little video. So the video is Aussie Live. Now, if I click done, it just puts the video in. But what I can then do is add an item. Sorry, add an item that is explain the main idea of this video. And that allows the students to, and I haven't made that a required question, that allows the students to respond. So what I'll just do now is I will send this form. So I'm just going to send this form to Shingo. I'm not sure, it's not going to come up. Okay, I'll share the link via my Google Sites. Some poor person may respond if they're unlucky. But once I share it, that just means other people can see it. And it's ready to go. So what I can do now is I can grab this. This is also important. This is where it automatically creates for you your spreadsheet. So it asks you, do you want to create a new spreadsheet for this form, or do you want to use an existing one? I always create a new one because I don't like to get things all mixed up. But it's up to you what you want to do and how you want to use it. Okay, so once you create that, it automatically creates it for you, and it just sits in the background until you get a response. So what I'll do, I'll just make sure. Oops, wrong button. Oh, there's my embed code. I'll just grab this. I'll put it back in the chat. If you want to go and have a look. Yeah, I use it a lot more for homework now than I used to. Shingo. It's really good for revision. It's really good just to get kids engaged in using the web properly. So I've put that form in there. So I'm just checking. Oh, that's what I haven't done down here. Show link. Yeah, so this part down the bottom, I didn't show you this because in my work it's slightly different, and it's slightly different format because it's an internal thing. So you can show the link to submit another response. You can publish and show a link to the results form if you want people to see it, so I might do that. And allow respondents to edit responses after submitting. So there's your answer to that question, Jason. You can do that if you like. Now I've got one response, so let's have a look. Let's see who responded. Shambles explaining stuff from Thailand using his English accent. Yes, let's see. That would definitely be Shambles, and I'd say that would be Shingo making his response, connecting to the conference, great. So even if you didn't watch the video, you should have been able to see that the form came up for you, hopefully, as a lovely little cherry blossom submission. So I'll show you the live form now. Nice bright pink colours. And you'll notice that not all questions were required, but that's because I didn't click it. And you've got the questions and the text and the submit. Now, if you with the video, I'm not sure exactly how to make it bigger. That's one thing I haven't been able to figure out. I'm sure some technical guru could probably tell me better than what I can, because I'm still in a lot of ways learning how to use this, but I think it's my new favorite way of assessing, simply because number one, it saves me from marking too much, and number two, I get to see all of the kids' responses in one place. Yes, Shingo.
And just to answer your question, is just you just have to click on the right bottom window, expand the looking thing, and it'll just make it bigger, I think.
Oh, okay, right. No worries. Yeah, I haven't really looked at that too much because, like I said, sometimes it's hard enough to get my kid listening to me, let alone someone else. But sometimes it's easier. But I had that thought when I was playing around the other day looking at setting up an end-of-unit assessment for an English unit we're currently doing. And I looked at the video option because we've been talking a lot about other cultures, and I found a great clip that would have been a good one to get their responses to. So I'm sort of playing around with that idea because it's a little bit hard for 8- and 9-year-olds to express opinions about some things in writing. So I'm trying to think of other ways I could get them to do that. But anyway, that's just my thinking. Maybe Audio Boo might be the answer. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the room. Oh, wow, time flies when you're having fun. So what I would, put that away. Okay, so hopefully I'm back in the room now. Is the app share finished? Yep, looks like it. If you've got any questions, hit me. I'm quite happy to answer the questions I can. We've got a couple of other experienced IT gurus here that might be able to help us out. I know Sue's probably got lots of ideas. But yeah, if you've got any questions, I'm quite happy to get them from you. But honestly, get in there, play around, have a go, see what you think you can do with it. And that's how I started using it. I had a go at it. I thought, oh, this would be a really good way to find out, you know, what kids think about such and such, or to answer these very simple questions. It's not too difficult for them, particularly once they're Year 3 or older, because they've got a good enough level of reading ability to be able to answer questions like that to themselves.
I've just gone and done
and if I created my own little video
good.
with that,
yeah, it's really good to use where you're not embedding them into your blog, but once you start embedding things into your website, I found there were a few things like you can set the cells of your spreadsheet. Sorry, this is for the results of it. To set the results into spreadsheets, you've got to set the cells that you want to appear. And also you've got to change the widgets from true to false, otherwise you get the date stamp column and you get anything that you don't really want on it. But I found that out by trial and error.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, and you know, I still get all of that stuff just because I'm a bit lazy about doing all that stuff. Usually I'm making these assessments up and going, oh, I'll just put that in straight away, and I don't spend the time to take all those other things away. That is a question, Lisa, I'm not able to answer for you. In New South Wales, they can, but that is dependent on the school. The school administrator has to say, yes, we want access. So it would be something you would probably need to check with your department or even your boss or even your regional head person just to ask, because it's a fantastic free tool that should be accessible. And I think that if you, I'm guessing here, I'm not exactly sure because I'm not sure how the department systems work. If it's embedded into your school site or your school Moodle or whatever the tool is you're using for your learning management system, you should be able to access it. The children should be able to access it to at least submit responses. I am making a guess at that. Yeah, I think it is, depending on where you are, it depends. Queensland, I think it's blocked completely from all department schools, no choice. In New South Wales, it's principal discretion. Shingo's saying there that in Victoria it's okay. So I guess it'd be a question to ask your local people. Yeah, good.
I don't think it's the department part. I think it's the school, the admin that controls it. So because some schools are, like I said, Google accredited, and some teachers are Google accredited teachers. So you should be able to ask your IT technicians about perhaps unblocking if it's blocked. Some of the sites didn't actually work on mine, but but in terms of the IT technician, they were quite flexible, and they're willing to do work to find out how they can get around the firewall.
To get Google accredited, it's quite difficult actually, Lisa, but schools need to make a choice about that, and it's about moving everything over to Google, which is what my diocese has done with our Catholic schools. So everything, our email, a lot of our systems, even a lot of the, we're starting to use Chromebooks and so on. So it's about a decision to be made, I guess, by the head people, the head honchos. Sue makes a good point that it does not work very well in Internet Explorer. Sometimes, depending on Chrome, it might be having a bit of a bad day, but it works well in Firefox. The other thing that you might find if you're working within a secure network, if you're embedding something, it may not work because it's a secure network. The link, which is usually HTTP, colon / is not a secure link. So if you just add an S after the P, so HTTPS, that takes away that issue of the security system. I only learned that this week from one of our techie guys, and I was like, great, that solves my problem completely. I was embedding a Symbaloo into a school site, and I couldn't get it to show up on Chrome, but it worked fine in Firefox. So he told me, oh, it's just that it's missing the secure link, that little S after the P. Okay, so are there any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Thanks for that link, Shingo. I'm sure Lisa will check it out. So I've just got a couple of links for you, which are basically where I found some of my information for you. The first one is just the the New South Wales Board of Studies, their support document for the Australian Curriculum for New South Wales, and it has some really good information about assessment for, as, and of learning. So I just thought I'd put that in there for you. Yeah, that's a good idea, Sue. And then the next link is the one from Canada, the link to the document that's all about assessment for learning. So I'll just grab those and put them in the chat for you, because I didn't have time to make them live links for you here. So there's two links there. So the first one's just the Board of Studies brief one, and also the a link to Canada. This document actually I found available when I went to search it, because I downloaded it about, I don't know, 12 months ago. When I went to search the name of the document, it actually came up in a lot of places. So it's a widely used document, particularly in Canada, but it's a really good document. It is about 12 or 14 pages long. It's quite long, but very, very useful. Very good at clarifying understanding of those types of assessments, so I'd certainly recommend them. Okay, so if you want to contact me or you have any further questions, my email is fairly simple. It's nesscrouch@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter, because I'm always tweeting out new things, particularly from my Scoop It. And this week I've been playing around with a new toy, which is Weebly, which is just a free website creator. And I've started putting all my little bits and pieces together in one place, which for me has been very useful, because instead of having to go to a couple of different places for my blog, for my portfolio, for my professional learning blog, all of those sorts of things, I've started putting it all together, and I'm really liking how easy Weebly is to use. So much so that I may even make my class site on Weebly, but I'm still thinking about that because I've spent so much time in Google Sites, and I've just started teaching other teachers how to use Google Sites, so I might refrain from that. Yeah, so that's how you can contact me. I'm quite happy to answer any questions. I'm really quite willing to share ideas, and if you want, where do I find time? Jason, well, I just make time sometimes. I don't know, I enjoy it. It's something that once I get used to doing something, I can do it really quickly, so I guess, I don't know. But I needed to do something about all of my sites spread all over the place in different places. I needed to put them all together, and I found Weebly on the weekend and thought, give it a go. And I'm liking how it looks so far. Yeah, so thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, I think for me, Sue, that's the biggest thing. Twitter has been one of my biggest finds for when it comes to professional learning, and also Scoop It as well. I have found some really fantastic ideas on Scoop It, and I use it regularly to gather new ideas as well as consolidate old ideas. So I recommend Scoop It as well, which I haven't actually put up here, but you can find me. I use my real name there, Vanessa Crouch, on Scoop It. Yeah, so next week I'll be back looking at a couple of the other useful Google Forms that you can use. Not Google Forms, Google Apps for Education. So that's some of the other tools there. Oh no, Shingo. Sad. Start a new one. Start new with Twitter. So anyway, so I'm going to share a few more ideas how to use drawing, how to use Google Docs, how to use what other one was I going to show you? And a couple of other ones like MindMap and so on that you can actually connect with through Google as one of their extra apps. So I'm just grabbing my Scoopit to put in there because you might find some of the tools I have there useful. Oh no, I do use Nest Crouch. There you go. Yeah. So anyway, thank you very much everyone for coming. I hope you found tonight useful. It was a pleasure to be here, and I enjoy sharing my knowledge with you. So I hope you got to take a little bit with you.